Hello and welcome to our reading session on the text The Chimpanzees I Love. This is part 3. The school division is Learn Today, Lead Tomorrow. And this is the title. The author is Jane Goodall. We have discussed and watched a video about her life, and we know that she is worldwide known scientist, and she was the first one to study chimpanzees in their wildlife environment. The objectives. Here, this is page 61. We can see these photos and some captions under each photo. The first one, these two young chimps are good friends, and the other one is Fifi, is a very good mother. Here she is with offspring Ferdinand, Faustino, and Fanny. And the title that we can give to these two photos is Companionship and Family Relations Among the Chimps. This is my title. What do you think? This part we have read another part, and here we have the chimpanzees in captivity. Unfortunately means unlikely, means a bad luck. Chimpanzees so like us in many ways are often very badly treated in many captive situations. Chimpanzees were first brought to Europe from Africa in the middle of the 17th century. People were amazed by these human-like creatures. They dressed them up and taught them tricks. So like this chimp that you can see in the photo, wearing a tuxedo and having a hat in his hand and even a cane. Okay, so we're going to read in this part about the chimpanzees' life in captivity, whether they are treated as pets in the homes of some people, or they are taken for medical research in medical laboratories, or they are trained and kept in circuses and taking part in movies and advertisements. Here, as you can see in the picture, this chimp is used in the circus, and he can or she can pedal a bicycle. And the chimpanzees are so much like people, and they are also like some people have been very badly treated by others. So let's read here. Since then, we have often treated chimpanzees like slaves. Here, these are the ways, the mistreatment of chimps, okay, slaves, shooting their mothers in Africa, shipping them around the world, caging them in zoos, training them to perform in movies and circuses. This training is not easy done. And advertisement, selling them as pets, and imprisoning them in medical research laboratories. Some chimps become famous. J. Fred Muggs starred on TV's Today Show. It's a Today Show. This is the title. For years, and was known by millions of viewers. This is one of the chimps. But the truth, nobody knew the truth. What was the truth? What they didn't know was that whenever J. Fred Muggs got too big and strong for the show, he was replaced by a younger one, and nobody even noticed. So, what types of mistreatments the chimps faced? A young male called Ham was sent up into space. He was shot up in a Mercury Redstone rocket in January 1961, and because he survived the ordeal, he was terrified. It was decided that it was safe for the first human astronauts. Ham was taught his routine by receiving an electric shock every time he pressed the wrong button. Okay, so this is an experience about training a chimp to travel into space as a first experiment. for the astronauts to go into space. The scientists wanted to know whether the primates are going to survive into space. So let's watch the video.
This chimpanzee will pave the way into space. His name is Ham. He has a different training regimen than human astronauts, including shocks to his feet if his attention strays from the instrument panel. But his job is paramount. Prove that a primate can function in space.
So this was how you were able to, what they would have called at the time, man-rate the vehicle.
All three start panel lights are correct. Mercury go. Atlantic lights on. T-minus 18 counting.
Since the embarrassment of Mercury 1, they think they've fixed the rocket.
Minus 10, 9,
But
8,
will the capsule keep
7,
Ham alive?
6. 0, 1 second. Lift off. Lift off. Lift off.
Mercury 2 punches through the Florida sky,
5-7.
with the hopes of the program riding on a 3-year-old chimp.
We are correct. Roger.
The capsule loses pressure,
Flight.
but Ham's spacesuit keeps him alive.
Ignore, we shouldn't pitch full scale. We'll keep an eye on this.
He pulls levers and pushes buttons as
We
trained.
lost our pitch. Ignore.
They know he's conscious, but don't know if he'll endure re-entry.
We're receiving data again. Let us know when you regain the signal.
Ships find Ham's capsule in the wide-open Atlantic. They whisk it aboard and open the hatch to see if Ham survived.
He was a little dehydrated, he was a little fatigued, but they gave him an apple and he liked that.
He has nothing more than a bruised nose. Everyone hopes the first human in space will be so lucky.
So let's continue reading. Often circus chimps are taught right at the start of their training that instant obedience is the way to avoid beating. So they were trained by beating. They have to obey or else they are going to be beaten by the human who is training them. The beatings are given when the trainer and chimp are on their own, so no one sees. It is the same for other animals and for many of those used in movies and other forms of entertainment. Infant chimpanzees are adorable and for the first 2 or 3 years are gentle and easy to handle. So the infant chimpanzees are adorable and easy to handle and gentle. People buy them and treat them like human children. So this is how they are compared to human children. They are adorable, gentle, and easy to handle. This is the answer to this question. But as they grow older, they become more and more difficult. They are, after all, chimpanzees, and they want to behave like chimpanzees. They resent discipline, so they do not obey the orders of the person who is taking them as pets. They can and do bite, so they have these savage behavior. And by the time they are 6 years old, they are already as strong as a human male, as a man, as strong as a man. So, what will happen to them then? Zoos don't want them. Why? Why zoos don't want them? Because for they have not been able to learn chimpanzee social behavior. They are not used to have chimpanzees beside them. They are used to live with people. So when they go to the zoos, they have to live with other chimpanzees. They don't know how to do this. They don't know how to live with other chimps of their kind. And they do not mix well with others of their kind. Often they end up in medical research labs. So why are chimps are chosen to be experienced in or as the substance in the medical research? Why do scientists use chimps in medical research laboratories? Why? Because their bodies are much more like the human bodies, and if there are viruses that affect the human body, the scientists can make and invent medicines and vaccines, and then inject the chimps with these viruses, and then give them the medication, the new medication, and record the observations. These are two photos and captions also. The first one on the left, zoos are improving gradually, but thousands of chimpanzees around the world spend their lives in barren cement floored cages with nothing to do. This is nothing to do is also, very disappointing for a chimpanzee. Nothing to do, and the floor is cement also. And on the other picture on the right, Jojo has been caged alone in a Congolese zoo. He reaches to touch me, desperate for contact. Of course, who is writing these captions? It's Jane Goodall, the author. So this is her in the picture, and the hand of the chimpanzee who wanted to get some contact with someone. This is page 63. I think you should read this on your own. And while you read, you can think of how the author contrasted Jojo's natural environment with his environment in a research lab. We can find this in this paragraph. Let's read quickly. We will find this in this paragraph. Okay. I shall never forget the first time I looked into the eyes of an adult male chimpanzee in one of these labs. For more than 10 years, he had been living in this tiny prison. For 10 years, he's living in a cage, a very small cage. These are the 5 inches, 5 inches, and 7 inches. The sides, floor, and ceiling were made of thick steel bars, iron bars. There was a car tire on the floor, so he can sit or sleep on the tire. His name, I read on the door, was Jojo. He lived at the end of a row of 5 cages. So there were 5 cages of chimpanzees. He was the 5th one, and the cage was very small, and only bar, and the side was a bare wall, and that's it, and only a tire on the floor for him to sit on. He lived at the end of a row of 5 cages lined up along a bare wall. Opposite were 5 more cages. At either end of the room was a metal door. There was no window. Jojo could not touch any of his. This is very important. Jojo could not touch any of his fellow prisoners, because this communication is very important for the chimpanzees. So he lived his life, 10 years of his life, do not even have the opportunity to touch any of his chimpanzees, okay, or any only the ends of his fingers fit between the bars. He had been born in now this is the comparison. Please pay attention to this. Now this is the comparison. This is the other part of the comparison. So the first part is that he is living in a small cage with steel bars beside a bare wall and a tire on the floor. He could not touch any of his fellow chimpanzees. He has been living there in this room for 10 years. There was not even a window. But where was he born? He was born in an African forest, and for the first couple of years he lived in a world of greens and browns. greens and browns, leaves and vines. See, this is the difference. Steel bars or trees and vines and leaves, butterflies and birds. Okay, so this is the comparison we want to write about. Always his mother had been close to comfort him, so this is also the relation or the companionship of his mother, until the day when she was shot and he was snatched from her dead or dying body. The young chimpanzee was shipped away from his first world to the cold, bleak existence of a North American research lab. So cold and bleak. This is also to come to describe the laboratory. Bleak means lacking vegetation or bare, and existence means living. I wrote the meanings, but maybe I didn't save. So bleak means bare, and sorry, existence means living. Okay. So what happened when Jane Goodall got closer to Jojo and his cage? What did he do? He groomed my fingers. He touched my fingers, where the ridges of my cuticles are like the fingernails, the tips of the fingernails, showed through the surgical gloves I had to wear. Then he looked into my eyes. This is very, very emotional. He looked into my eyes and with one gentle finger reached to touch the tear that rolled down into my mask. So she was the one who was crying, and he wanted to touch the tear that was rolling down her face. This is the same paragraph that we have read in the previous slide, and here these are the meanings: bleak, bare, bare or lacking vegetation, existence, the state of being alive. And this is the photo of Jane Goodall and Jojo behind the bars. Let's here watch the video.
This chimpanzee
of
will
Ham,
pave
the
the
first
way
chimp
into
in
space. His name is Ham. He has a different training regimen than human astronauts, including shocks to his feet if his attention strays from the instrument panel. But his job is paramount: prove that a primate can function in space.
So this was how you were able to, what they would have called at the time, man-rate the vehicle.
All three start panel lights are correct. Mercury go. Evacuate lights on. T-minus 18 and counting.
Since the embarrassment of Mercury 1, they think they've fixed the rocket.
Minus 10, 9,
But will the capsule keep Ham alive?
6. 0, 1 second. Lift off. Lift off.
Mercury 2 punches through the Florida sky,
5-7.
with the hopes of the program riding on a 3-year-old chimp.
We are correct. Roger.
The capsule loses pressure,
Flight.
but Ham's spacesuit keeps him alive.
Ignore. We shouldn't take the full scale. We'll keep an eye on this.
He pulls levers and pushes buttons as
We
trained.
lost our ignore.
They know he's conscious, but don't know if he'll endure re-entry.
We're receiving data again. Let us know when you regain the signal.
Ships find Ham's capsule in the wide-open Atlantic. They whisk it aboard and open the hatch to see if Ham survived.
He was a little dehydrated, he was a little fatigued, but they gave him an apple and he liked that.
He has nothing more than a bruised nose. Everyone hopes the first human in space will be so lucky.
Thank you so much. I hope that you have enjoyed today's reading session.